Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to, it is still morning, Eastern time. Welcome to the weekly Cyber Update Live. This is the new long-form content that we started, I don't know, probably about a month ago. And I actually have a guest, and you'll be hearing from him later, Joe Tinney, who is our VP of Cyber Operations. Say hi, Joe.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
I'm surprised you didn't say hi, Joe. Joe,
I messed up.
Joe is, this is also a comedic act. Joe will be talking about digital forensics, incident response, some insights into what we do from a response perspective when we go in and we get that call from a company and they've been compromised and they want us to help. So we'll kind of walk through that entire process.
Chad Robinson says hi, Joe.
Oh.
Hi, Chad.
There he is. Yeah. Hey, Chad. What's up? Okay, so what we'll do in this format is we'll cover some of the news articles at the beginning, and then we'll go into interviewing Joe. And then, as normal, as people are getting in here, and I'll mention it throughout the stream, if you've got questions, please share this with other people. Let them know that this is going on. And questions, the interaction is the most important thing. So if something comes up and you have a question about something we're covering, if you have a question about something we are not covering, you can do that. If you have questions about Hurricane Melissa down in the Caribbean, please let me know. I'm also a weather fanatic. So, all right, so let's get right into it. The first article that we have is Windows Server Emergency Patches fix for WSIS bug. I remember back in the day when Microsoft really didn't want you to call it WSIS. Do you remember that?
We always called it just WUS or WSUS.
I don't think
WSUS now would still not be a favorable term.
Right. I don't think they liked any of that. So Windows Server Update Service is what it stands for. Essentially, it is a piece of software that you can install inside your environment that manages patches, that allows you to pull them on an approved and centralized manner versus just letting everything pull it from the internet. Is that a good description? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Just want to make sure it was still that.
Yeah.
Microsoft has released a out-of-band, and this is thanks to our news source. bleepingcomputer.com is a great source for information. They do not sponsor us. They don't know who I am, nor do they care. But it's a great source of information. So Microsoft released a out-of-band security update to patch a critical severity Windows Server Update Service vulnerability with publicly available proof of concept exploit code. It sounds like there should be an acronym for that. PAPEC. I don't know. That was a lot of words to say that somebody has posted to the public on how to actually take advantage of this vulnerability. Is that the plain English version? Yep. WSIS is a Microsoft product that enables IT administrators to manage and deliver Windows updates. And this is tracked as, if you're playing at home, CVE 2025-59287, and it's patched during the October patch cycle. So what is an RCE? Remote Code Execution. It's a security flaw affects only Windows servers with the WSIS server role enabled, a feature that isn't enabled by default. So if you're using Windows Server Update Service, make sure that you've got that appropriate patch deployed in your October patching cycle. Next up in the news, and the only reason I'm bringing it up is because it's Toys R Us, and Joe and I were both Toys R Us kids.
Yeah.
Yep. Actually shopped at the actual stores. Actually ran into a Toys R Us. Where did we see? Where are they now?
There's one in a mall, I thought.
Oh, no.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Our local
there was
Toys
one.
R Us is gone, so.
Yeah, it is. It's been many things. It's a furniture store now, isn't it? Or something?
Is. Yeah. Probably soon to be a Halloween store.
Isn't that was the place next to it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Spirit. Yeah.
I tell you, if you want to laugh, you should look up the SNL skit on the pop-up Halloween stores.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's fantastic. All right. Toys R Us Canada warns customers info leaked in data breach. Toys R Us Canada has sent notices of a data breach to customers, informing them of a security incident where threat actors leaked customer records they had previously stolen from its systems. Yeah, we hear about this way too much. The company discovered the data leak on July 30th, 2025. Thankfully, that was in this year, when a threat actor posted on the dark web that they claimed to be Toys R Us customer data. So what do you do? How do you protect your data? I think one of the most things that's important is that you lock your credit. You freeze it. You just contact each credit bureau. It's easy to do. Freeze your credit. That's number one. Number two, watch your transactions. Have alerts set up on purchases and those types of things. Just be aware. There's probably the two.
Yeah,
highlights.
and those are very effective. Kind of a prevention and then a detection and response mindset for your finances, right?
Yep. All right, and this is probably some of the most exciting news. Is that there's a new Clippy. Now,
I feel like there's some jinx involved here.
No, I'm sure there is. So Microsoft has unveiled Copilot's, is it Miko?
That's how I would say it.
Miko Avatar. I'll be able to show you this stuff next week. There's actually a picture of it. It looks like a...
Is it a popcorn kernel or a...
I was going to go with marshmallow.
Marshmallow?
That's been, roasted a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
It's not quite like burnt all the way, but... All right, so today Microsoft introduced Miko, a new and more personal avatar for the AI-powered Copilot digital assistant, which the company's described as human-centered.
Okay.
The crap does that mean?
I don't know.
Okay, I don't know what that means. This new avatar is designed to be more supportive and empathetic.
Okay.
Was it not supportive and condescending?
Yeah, always respectfully, I see there.
Before that?
Yeah.
But we'll also push back.
I hear Grok can be pretty condescending. So
maybe I've noticed that.
Maybe it's just in response to that they're offering this alternate personality.
Chad says they should have stuck with Cortana. It could have been awesome. Wasn't Cortana the thing down in the start menu or something that you could chat with it or ask Cortana?
Yeah, and also I think Cortana was the AI from the game Halo, so I always thought it was cooler to have Cortana.
I didn't know that.
I'm pretty sure that was who spoke with you and guided you. So
I may have found my permanent co-host.
I put a photo of the AI
that was interesting.
on the screen.
Oh, you
The
did?
little popcorn guy.
there you go.
It is popcorn?
I don't know what it is. It looks like popcorn.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it looks like a marshmallow.
Hopefully it doesn't become burned.
So right. It says, but it will also push back when presented with incorrect information, always respectfully. So thank goodness. According to Microsoft, Miko also listens, learns, and, quote, earns your trust, unquote. So far, I'm not liking any of this.
I don't.
Not
I don't like.
Nope.
That sounds like it has manipulative capabilities there.
I agree. I don't like it so far. Yep. Unlike the heavily, what word is that?
Parodied
And criticized Clippy, the default Microsoft Office assistant for 4 years. 4 years.
Can't believe we had Clippy for 4 years.
Wasn't it like 40 years? It seemed like Clippy was always there. Or for Chad, the Cortana Windows digital assistant, which Copilot replaced in September of 2023. All right, I don't know. It says this optional visual presence listens, reacts, and even changes colors to reflect your interactions, making voice conversations feel more natural. Miko shows support through animated and expressions, creating a friendly and engaging experience. All right. That's enough of that. I think
I saw, was it last week or the week before, Microsoft announced that they were bringing agentic capabilities into Windows itself so that AI, I assume Miko, will be able to execute like code on your computer through these MCP model context protocol or something. kind of have direct control over the machine via voice.
What could possibly go wrong?
It's going to be great.
Well, I'll go ahead and now that you brought that up, I don't even think you saw the last article here. I don't know. Did you see that? Did you happen to see what you just went into?
No.
All right. So there's an article on Bleeping Computer called Zero Trust Has a Blind Spot, or AI Agents. So we here at SecureCyber talk a lot about ZTNA, Zero Trust Networking Architecture. Yep. Okay. And this article is basically indicating that there's a gap. You alluded to such gap. Yes?
Yeah.
So this says agentic AI has arrived. From custom GPTs to autonomous copilots, AI agents now act on behalf of users and organizations, or even act as just another teammate, making decisions, accessing systems, and invoking other agents without direct human intervention. Sounds wonderful.
Yeah. So in November 2024, Anthropic released a brand new protocol called MCP, and it's a control protocol for AI agents to kind of standardize how AI talks to anything else. And this is really enabled. This is how we have like agentic AI into everything, because everyone is writing a connector basically to their software, and you can plug any AI into it, and you've got this definition file of how to talk to it. So that's one of the big reasons we're seeing this explosion of AI. So now we need additional software control to monitor that, right? Like how do we stop runaway behavior, or put these guardrails?
Yeah, that's a good question. And a lot of my international research that I do has been centered around monitoring what the cybersecurity industry is doing from that perspective. So, like, what tools and functions and things are available for organizations to deploy software to protect themselves from AI and AI agents? The answer is not a lot. Unless you've seen something. The closest thing that I've actually seen is something closer to what I would consider a CASB, or a cloud access service broker. So picture, in plain English, if you were to, like, from right here, if I was to make a request to AWS, right?
Yeah.
Amazon Web Service, because it is up right now, as far as I know. I would directly make that request, right? Well, through a CASB, I would query the CASB. The CASB would then make that query for me. So,
and you'd have opportunity there to enter into any controls, right? So
correct.
Maybe you're allowed to access a certain service.
Yes.
And your organization could help police that.
And we're looking for guardrails, certainly, in AI, specifically around things like, ChatGPT, right? Gen AI type services, where we want to be able to stop users, or at least monitor users who maybe innocently upload a document that they didn't mean to, that contains sensitive client data, that type of thing. So,
even as we see, AI entering, like Copilot has a feature with M365 to access your organizational data, right? So they've obviously got to put a lot of controls there to stop an employee from convincing AI to access a resource that they're not authorized.
Yeah, that's true.
I think there's all kinds of interesting edge cases as you start to blend these agents that we're going to see, risk. You got a new risk. It'll be old risk, all the common things we're used to. But I believe, I think MITRE's been doing some work on like AI specific attacks and stuff. We'll have to look at that sometime.
There is a for those of you who are out there who maybe catch this later. There is something. NIST has the AI Risk Management Framework. NIST is the National Institute of Standards and Technology. I have not delved into it yet, but essentially, if I can go back to the article, to close this gap, organizations must apply the NIST AI Risk Management Framework through a zero trust lens with identity at the core. So identity has to be the root of trust for AI, and without it, everything else, access controls, auditability, and accountability falls apart.
Yeah.
So there's, as we enter Ender. As we're in this AI era, it's going to be tough for organizations to keep up with that and, know to apply this AI RMF, risk management framework. So anyway, I thought that was an interesting article. We will continue on with a couple of miscellaneous things. One is this F5 thing, like what's been going on with F5. F5 is a load balancer.
Yeah.
That's, I think, used mainly in like larger corporate entities, I believe.
It's right here. Yeah, F5, right. Yeah, load balancing and, kind of edge caching services for large organizations.
So CISA put out a number of alerts alerting large organizations or organizations that have these, not necessarily large, to fix it. And I've seen a ton of articles and things going on, discussions about, federal agencies, emergency patching, those types of things. I had even seen an article, which I can't confirm, that the vulnerability had been swimming out there for like over a year.
Oh, wow.
So that's not good. If you have F5, I'm sure by now you've been contacted and you've probably been overwritten by information about it. So the last thing I wanted to talk about was all this Salesforce crap that's going on. So lots of organizations have fallen victim to, and we'll actually talk about AWS while I'm thinking about it, now that I mentioned it earlier. So if you want to know what happened with AWS, stay tuned. Do you know what happened?
A little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know what I read last.
Yeah.
So it was interesting because I think it's Lapsus is the organization that's claiming a lot of responsibility for this Salesforce stuff. They had recently reached out to Salesforce and said, pay us a boatload of Bitcoin and we will not release all of these organizations that we've compromised.
Yeah, it's an interesting strategy that, basically, I won't say Lapsus couldn't compromise Salesforce. So they said, well, we'll just go after your clients directly. But then extortion...
Back to the company.
And
they're not the ones compromised.
Right.
That we know of.
Yeah.
Not insinuating that they are, but... So, yeah, the tactic was compromise all the clients, take all the data, and then go back to the parent organization that the software belongs to, who is not part of this victimization, and extort them.
Right.
I'm sure they extorted in the normal double extortion. Okay, and so we call that double extortion. I'm sure that's what happened. So
we usually see double extortion reversed, that there's a service organization or even an organization compromised, and then the individual users are then extorted as well. So first, like they compromise, it'd be reversed, right? They compromise Salesforce. Salesforce was not compromised. That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
Just
correct.
as an example.
Yep.
Compromise organization, extort them for money, and then they comb through that data, find their employees' data, and then reach out and individually extort the employees.
Yes.
Right. But this is reversed. The employees in this scenario and the customers have been extorted first indirectly, by compromising. And this was like a Salesforce account compromise.
Right.
So, they'd phish clients of Salesforce to get the Salesforce credentials and log in. So it wasn't like a vulnerability.
Correct.
In Salesforce.
Which, is a user education thing. So, we have to educate users. We also need, this kind of goes back to the whole secure by design thing, which CISA has been pushing for a long time to, make hardware and software manufacturers to deploy and sell things that are secure by purchase, right? Instead of the opposite. Okay, so we'll continue to talk about the Salesforce thing later, but I just thought that was interesting that they tried to extort Salesforce themselves. The last thing before we hop into your interview, Joe, is so what happened with Amazon Web Service? Just like CrowdStrike became a household name, right? At some point, people who probably shouldn't have known the word CrowdStrike, like the general public, knew very quickly who CrowdStrike was and what they did.
Yeah.
And now we've discovered that apparently half the planet is connected to US East 1.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a region from AWS, Amazon Web Services. It was the first region, I believe. It's in Northern Virginia.
It is the original one, yes.
So that, had the highest adoption. Everybody is in US East 1.
Right.
It's super well connected. It has direct connections internationally. So it's a very nice place to be from a data perspective and latency. So
there was a really interesting YouTube video that I was watching. I had a discussion earlier this week. I can't believe it's Friday already because, man, this week.
Yeah, it just disappeared.
Absolutely vanished. I mean, I swear it's like from Monday to... I remember starting the week. I apparently don't remember what happened in the middle, but here we are on Friday.
Oh, I like it.
Right. But I was talking with a customer about some of this data center stuff. And if you haven't kept up with it, right, there are data centers going up everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
There, just in Ohio alone, I'll talk about the Virginia thing in a minute, but just in Ohio alone, I mean, I think there's 7 in Columbus around the 270 loop.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of power. I mean, the Amazon data centers, Facebook, Meta, certainly OpenAI, ChatGPT, Gemini, this.
It's a lot of power and water.
Horsepower, right?
We sit on a large aquifer, so it's great for cooling.
Right. And then Virginia there's a whole, there was a really interesting documentary about how in Virginia they're starting to fight back. You've got like Ashburn. Is it Ashburn?
Yeah.
Virginia is a big one. There's some big data center regions, and they're very, I don't know, they're harmful in ways, right? I mean, especially if they're close to like populated areas, they're loud.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, they're loud, and like you said, I mean, the power consumption. There's a finite amount of power, so does it go to, neighborhood growth? Is it prohibiting, living spaces, or
right?
You don't know.
So, getting back to the AWS incident, US East 1 is based out of Virginia. US East 2 is in Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah.
And those are physical locations.
Yeah, so they are campuses of data centers separated by miles. So these are multiple data centers miles apart, broken up into zones. So each region has a zone. So when we say US East 1, we're talking about more than one data center because all the zones were impacted.
Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha.
But
are there west ones too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's west and central. So Chicago, I think there's Texas has some, and then Oregon. I believe is where some other ones are.
Now, typically, they'll put these data centers in areas where there's, getting back to what you said about Virginia, there's great connectivity. So a lot of our international, like big long-haul connections to other, like APAC regions, EMEA, are all, come into that region, right? So that's a big driver for it. Cheap energy. So, sometimes there's negotiations that are made to allow for the energy to be more economical. And last, a lot of these regions that they choose are regions that are not susceptible to natural hazards.
Right.
So earthquakes and things like that. And you may say, well, Virginia, that's pretty close to the ocean. It's actually, the actual physical data center is inland. So it's actually closer to like the far eastern-ish region or western-ish region of Virginia.
Okay.
But that's typically, grid redundancy, areas that don't have a lot of, natural disasters and those types of things. So what happened? Why did AWS go down?
So it's almost always DNS.
Which is the domain name service.
Yes. So that turns names into IP addresses.
The phone book to the internet.
Yeah. So all of any large scale providers' systems are going to be referenced by name because the IP is trained. Like you can't keep track of 1 million servers by tracking their IPs manually, right?
Right.
So you reference them by name. Well, there was some kind of DNS change to a service called DynamoDB, and that was an underlying component for AWS's own services, right? So AWS eats its own dog food, as you might say.
Sure.
So their own services use their own other services. So this started a domino effect where this little tiny domino hit the next biggest domino, and eventually you have these big giant, you get compute instances that can't start.
Okay.
And all these automation services, these more complex services can't start because 7 levels down, they've got a dependency. Right. So as they start to recover, and this has happened numerous times with AWS, its scale is almost incomprehensible. You simply can't turn it back on. It's like trying to dark start a power grid.
That's not easy.
You have to get smaller workloads online and turn on larger generators that turn on larger generators. So as they repaired it, basically the queue was so large that it would crash it again, and the next service would crash.
Yeah, I noticed it was doing this loop thing, right, where it would go up and then down, and people would be like, yeah, it's working. No, it's not.
Yeah, so their notes indicated that they were using a throttling technique to bring this back online. So they would throttle how fast new things could start.
That makes sense.
I think that's why you saw that kind of bouncing as they were adjusting that throttling queue. Well, that was too much, and that's too little. It's going to be too slow. And they were kind of threading the needle there to get it back online, and it just took a long time to do that.
Okay. So they're back up now. I've heard a lot of discussions. Well, maybe we can do a separate episode on AWS piece, because there's a lot of discussions out there. I think people have a lot of questions about, well, if I'm in US East 1, what do I do? Can I spread my load between 1 and 2? Can I? Okay. So this is not an AWS architecture class. So let's get in. I've got Joe Tinney here. He's our VP of Cyber Operations. We've just kind of talked about the news, but today, what I want to do is, and a lot of this, Joe, is to not only ask you about these things now and let you talk about them, but then this YouTube is memorialized so that, obviously people can use that to refer back to, well, what happens during an incident?
Sure.
And so we've spent a lot of time. We launched this practice probably around COVID, I think-ish.
Yeah.
So we've been doing this work for now approaching almost 6 years, where we do what's called incident response. And incident response is the equivalent of your house. You notice your house is on fire, right? And you dial 911 and you talk to an operator and you say, look, my house is on fire. You got to send people. And they go, yep, okay, get out of the house. Help is on the way. We are that first fire truck that pulls up, or in some ways, that guy that shows up that doesn't have anything.
Yeah.
That's called a first responder.
Right.
It's usually what's called a battalion chief or something, right? He's the first one on the scene, may not have a hose, may not have any water. Right. But he is initially the first guy that walks in to size up what is going on. Do I need 10 more fire trucks? Okay. And then, but at the same time that battalion chief was dispatched, that first responder, the trucks are rolling.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So what happens in our business is I tend to be the battalion chief.
Yep.
So I tend to try and get to an organization quickly so that I can understand and size up what we got, what we need. Do we need, how many more people do we need? What's going on? But that's what happens. So we'll get a call. It will generally be directed to me. I will ask a number of questions to try and identify what is happening and what assistance you need. And then we have 2 teams of emergency responders. So these are folks that are on call 24/7, 365 that are ready to answer the call of an organization in massive distress.
Yeah.
Is that a good representation?
It is. Yeah, that's great.
All right. So there's a whole process to this, to responding to an emergency. And I guess we'll just kind of let you go with it, Joe. What do we get involved in? So I've been there, I've sized it up. I've called you and you're like, yeah, this is a go. We're on the way. what happens?
Yeah. So, I mean, the first thing we're going to do, after we, gather equipment and grab our go bags and hit the door, we're en route, right? There's some things you would have coached the client to do and not do, with regard
Yeah, let's talk
to,
about some of those things. What do they need to do while they're waiting for us? What do they need to do or not do?
Yeah, so please don't turn anything off, right?
Yeah.
That's the first thing is there's a lot of transient artifacts, so we'll say that word a lot probably. Evidence, right, that exists in computer memory. It exists in different caches in your system, and if you turn your computer off, those all go away. RAM is temporary. So we're going to ask you not to turn anything off. We're probably going to ask you to disconnect from the internet. So the idea...
Just a cable pull.
Yeah, just pull the cable. We're going to leave the network equipment running. Depending on the scenario, we might have some more specific isolation recommendations about, pulling network cables from individual systems or something like that, right? So trying to achieve some kind of containment if it's required. But in general, we're concerned with the preservation of evidence.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute, because there's an important component to this, and it's cyber insurance. And this is not going to be a bashing of cyber insurance presentation. Just know that a lot of this retention of evidence is dual purpose. Yeah. Number one, and probably foremost, you as a caller into us, right, that needs help is going to want to know, at the end of the day, you're going to be asked, who was it? When did it happen? Why did they get us? Yeah. What did they take? The who, what, when, where, why, and how, right? What did they take? How much did they take? Did they take anything? How did they get it out of here? How did they eventually get, eventually obviously the customer wants to know, how in the world did this happen so that we can stop it from happening again?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. So a lot of that preservation of evidence is first and foremost in our minds, because whether you've called insurance or not, that's an important part of, our investigation. Mm-hmm. So you're going to lead the effort forensically to, I guess, first gather these artifacts, right?
Yeah, correct. So me and any other team members that would come on to respond, first we're going to have an interview. So we're going to arrive on site and we're going to have an interview with the client. So we're going to ask, in your own words, to describe what happened, what's led up to this. And we're kind of gathering information at that point about your environment, how it's configured, so that we can come up with a strategy for future containment. So we can come up with a priority evidence collection strategy. We know which systems to go to first. There's some obvious choices in any environment, but there might be some specific issues, especially if and oftentimes people have an inkling of where the incident might have started.
Yeah, okay.
And that's a real accelerator in getting to, kind of the root cause artifacts pretty fast. So that interview process usually takes about an hour. We go through, ask our interview questions and get a scope. And from there we'd move into collection.
So I think one of the things that happens, especially visually, is when people call an organization like us, I think they anticipate like Black Hawk helicopters, us rappelling, rope rappelling down with our go bags, right? You talked about our go bags, and basically our go bags contain lots of hard drives, lots of solid state, lots and lots, because we have to dump that evidence onto something, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen like that. So not to, anticlimactic this, but a lot of what happens when we first get there is it's a lot of talking.
It is a lot of talking. I will take a moment to share a kind of cool story.
Okay.
Though about deploying, and we were responding to an incident a number of years ago, and it just so happened that the company had sent all of their employees home at a similar time as to when we were arriving. So we're pulling up in multiple cars, and we've all got
everybody's
our
evacuating the building.
Yeah, so they're evacuating. We're coming in, and we've got our our logoed shirts on, our logoed bags. Everybody's carrying 2 bags in. And basically, we're getting a bunch of hell yeahs, go get them, boys. As we're
That's
walking
funny.
in from the staff, and so that was pretty cool. That's the closest we get to.
Right.
We don't arrive in synchronized SUVs or helicopters or anything, but
That's funny.
it was pretty close.
Well, and I'll tell you for the audience, like one of the main things why that's a lot of talking, to be just brutally honest with you, is because we don't know who you are. We don't know anything about your network. We don't know what you have and don't have. So there's a lot of time that has to be spent for us to orientate ourselves. So since we'll be able to replay this again, some of the things that help later is please keep in mind that during an incident like this, you may have all the information that we need.
Yeah.
And guess where it is?
Yeah. It's on an encrypted drive
On the file server.
on the file server.
Right. So you won't be able to get to any of this information. So what you should do is you should print all this out and put it in a binder and update it from time to time. Make it orange. Go get orange, hot pink binders off of Amazon.
Yeah.
Or Office Depot or whatever, and make them visible. So in an emergency, that's what you're going to grab, and it's going to have your network diagram, and it's going to have who all your vendors are. Right. It's going to have your incident response plan, your disaster recovery plan.
Yep.
Because you have all those. Right?
Yeah. So work on those, please.
Joe, out of how many incidents has somebody actually produced their IR for us, their incident response plan?
0 times have I been presented with an IRP.
So that becomes difficult later, and we'll talk about that. So we've entered the collection process. How do you do that? How do you actually collect the evidence?
So there's a number of strategies. Obviously, we've got a series of software packages. I don't know if you want me to go into those a little bit.
Yeah, you
I'm
can.
Happy to.
That's fine.
Yeah. So over the years, we've partnered with a number of different folks. Our current partner is Binalize. It's an agent-based and an offline collection-based forensic triage system. It allows us to very quickly visualize and analyze the evidence that we've collected, and it also streamlines that collection process.
Sure.
So as part of our incident response practice, we maintain multiple forensic certifications for multiple people, and in those courses, we're trained how to identify and collect this evidence manually, which can be done, and you can do it with all open source tools, and they're great and they're usually current. But to really accelerate that process to the velocity that you'd want to have as a client when you've got incident responders in, we find a commercial package is really a great way to do it. So we will, as part of assembling our go bags, we will produce these custom offline collectors and drop those onto our drives, so that basically every drive is kind of self-contained with the software that we need to collect it. And along the way, that part of understanding and interviewing is we're understanding, do you have a virtual environment? What kind of virtual environment do you have? Is that environment operational? Do your credentials work
Sure.
to access it, right?
Yeah, there's been a lot of domain controllers that we couldn't log into.
Yeah, so a tactic of some ransomware groups is on their way out. They reset all the passwords.
Yeah.
And of course, that's designed to prevent any kind of study of their activities. It's designed to inhibit incident response activities. So this is kind of really these frameworks. While they're tedious and you might find them annoying or getting in your way.
Right.
They're designed to help you recover.
Right.
Later. So robust backup, administrative accounts.
Well, let's go into that a little bit. So the reason we're going down these tracks, and if you're just joining us, I've got Joe Tinney, our VP of Cyber Ops. He also leads our incident response program right now. And we're talking about what happens when a cybersecurity company responds in an emergency to an organization. So what we're setting this up to do is really a couple things. And I know I keep softballing you this, but we've been on too many of these, so I kind of know how this works. Is we're trying to set you up for, number one, if you do have robust backups, which I'll tell you, if I had a nickel for every time somebody, when we walked in, said, no, our backups are good, and they weren't, I'd be a bazillionaire. So the whole backup thing is a whole different thing. But if you do have good backups, the one thing that you're going to want from us is, well, when should I restore from?
Yeah, so that's, once we get collection out of the way, which could take 12 hours on the short side, it could take days on the longer side. It could take weeks if we're, there are some extreme strategies to collection where, and thankfully we haven't had to deploy this, but it's an option where we actually bring in a red team hacking group to hack back into your servers, right?
Right.
Where we need to exploit your domain controller so that we can get credentials to it. So that would be very involved and can take a long time. But once we get that, you're right, that our goal, initially is we're trying to find initial access.
Right.
And then we're going to try and track the activities that happened with the goal of being able to pinpoint specific restore dates and times that you can use where your data integrity was intact.
Right.
And, where the attackers, where we're not restoring a malware toolkit, we're not restoring any kind of persistence or remote access.
So the other thing we're trying to help with too, and assisting you in the recovery, is we're trying to find what's called patient zero.
Yeah. So
patient zero is that originating device. What was the first in the chain of events, right? What was chain one?
Yeah.
So we've seen and heard of a lot of organizations that, matter of fact, we were called about one just a couple weeks ago that tried to do the recovery themselves without any help, and they just decided to restore from backup, and the threat actor either came back or re-encrypted them.
Yeah. So if you don't, maybe you're just interested in restoring data and not operating systems, but attackers will often on a machine kind of, let's say off target. So let's say they're focused on your server network. They might drop a method of persistence like Cobalt Strike or Brute Ratel, some other toolkit that's out there. They'll sprinkle those among your workstations, and they won't do anything else to those workstations, right? They don't want you to notice that they've dropped those there. And that opens the door for a couple weeks later for them to begin activities again. Maybe you thought, oh man, they just got these 3 servers, easy win. I'll restore my F drive and move on about my day. And almost never is that, from a short or from a medium term to long term, a successful strategy.
So let's, real quick, because we've got about 9 minutes left here, let's talk about the persistence piece, because I think that's an important discussion when it comes to people that are deciding to restore themselves. So they've gotten ransomware, it's on a few machines, they restore from backup, and they want to move on. What they don't realize is that in most ransomware cases, the threat actor is finding a bunch of random devices to put what are called like web shells.
Yeah, backdoors or web shells, or it really sky's the limit. The availability of backdoor.
I think the worst I saw in an organization was there were 5.
Yeah.
And thankfully there was some intelligence that we were being fed from another organization that assisted us in locating where those persistent actors or artifacts were.
Yeah.
But those are all things to consider. It's you should not restore from a ransomware incident by yourself. There is a method to the madness. Whether you have insurance or not, you should call in a professional. You should have. It's like, but we're like Ghostbusters, guys. Yeah. I mean, you don't want to harness a ghost by yourself and never cross the streams.
That's right.
So get somebody involved. So eventually, we've done the collection, we've identified persistence, Binalize is active. We're probably deploying our own EDR tool.
Yeah.
So endpoint detection and response. You want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah, right. Just endpoint detection and response monitors, the processes on your system, looks for malicious activity. So we use that as part of containment and a defense in depth strategy as we move toward recovery. Kind of as you're forensically analyzing everything, maybe it's a new technique that we don't detect right now, right?
Right.
We can put in this layered defense so we get an alert if re-encryption is happening or if there's a beacon. Same technique with like network monitoring. We would put in network monitoring on the network as we're recovering so we can monitor that and look for other signs of infection.
Yeah, it gives us the opportunity because we have our own security operations center here just behind us, right in our own building. We have our own analysts, our own platform. And while you're in the recovery process, because what's going to eventually happen is you're probably going to run out and maybe you bought a bunch of new computers, right?
Right.
And you're going to want to restore. So we kind of act as that defensive company, right? We're kind of running defense for you while you're out running the play. And so no sneak attacks. Nobody's gonna left flank you. No quarterback sneaks. No rushing.
Yeah.
All that's going to be held back essentially by the EDR tool, and that's why we do that. And then kind of the final thing I'll say from a network perspective when they really get into recovery is a lot of times we find that we have really a contaminated network, right? And so there's a lot of theories and philosophies on how you do that. And I know in some cases, there's a level of frustration of how we guide a customer back into that clean network stage, but zero trust networking, ZTNA, right? That process of basically distrusting everything and making everything prove itself.
Yeah.
We had Todd Arnett was on the show 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we were talking about the difference between VLANing and segmentation. Mm-hmm. And, that became an interesting part of the discussion. But do you want to just kind of end with the whole why we do that? I know I use the words, you can't come up the same way you were compromised.
Yeah. So when an attacker comes in, what we invariably see is some kind of reconnaissance activity. Just like we come in and interview you, the attacker interrogates your network, usually with a network scanning tool like Nmap. I've seen increased use of Nessus by attackers as well.
These are good guy tools, by the way.
Yeah. So these are all tools your network admin would want to be using all the time. And so they get a really good picture of your network. Networks, while all being unique, are usually also always the same in concept. I mean, there's some kind of critical system that you have available, and that's usually discernible by the attacker. It's a database server. It's a file server. So they'll perform this reconnaissance activity. So they kind of have this blueprint of your network, and ideally, when you recover, as they share and sell this information, because that's what they'll do. They'll sell your scans. Maybe another organization knows how to exploit something else. They're just going to assume that you're going to recover exactly the way you are.
Right.
And as they share that and they sell it, that gives another attacker insight into your network. And it'd be nice if we could invalidate that kind of blueprint, right?
Sure.
So we want the network to be different. We want it to be able to defend itself. We don't want to allow that type of reconnaissance activity. This year has been the year of remote access exploit in our incident responses. And multiple incidents that I've worked this year have been VPN intrusions. In the past, we've had more phishing turns, malware, where a workstation is patient zero. This year, more and more, it's accounts, right? So identities become patient zero. A VPN account, missing MFA is, again, MFA everything, especially your VPNs. Secure your VPNs. VPN should be able to access specific resources. So those have been the trends. And as we work to find patient zero, it's usually been an account this year.
All right. Well, we'll probably only continue to see Unfortunately, more of this. I know just recently in the news, it's been a lot of firewall, sonic wall has been, in the crosshairs, and it seems like it alternates, right? Somebody said the other day, something about how much Fortinet's been in the news, and I'm like, well, look at sonic wall and the problem is, I think a lot of that is a lot of these firewall manufacturers, there's not a ton of them, like especially the bigger players, right? Yeah. Your Apollos, your Sonic Walls, your Fortinets, and not all firewalls are created equal. And we could probably do a whole episode on just that, right? But from a next generation firewall perspective, I really only see two contenders. I see Palo Alto and I see Fortinet in its true state. Well, hopefully this was helpful. I appreciate you coming on, Joe. And I was serious. I mean, maybe it might be good to have you on a regular basis because, you have a lot of technical insights. You're the smartest person that I know from an incident response and just overall technical perspective. There's a lot to discuss in the world right now, whether it's AI or incident responses or how to mitigate vulnerabilities. And so hopefully we can, continue this conversation and get more people engaged and involved.
Yeah. Well, maybe if we get 1,000 likes on this video, I'll no.
All right. So we get 1,000 likes and Joe will come back. So that's right. I like that. I don't mind that at all. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everyone for coming. I appreciate your time. We didn't have a lot of questions, but that's okay. We'll post this and allow people to take a look at it later. And I'm sure there'll be some comments online. So thanks for your time. Have a great weekend. It's chilly here in Ohio. I'm making chili tonight at the house. So we'll catch you. Do what?
Everyone's invited.
Right. Everybody come to my house. We'll post the